for it says textual notes on Deuteronomy 32. This will become more important in just a moment as we get into this text. Let me, in order to build the platform for this, we have to have some understanding of what's going on in the Hebrew Scriptures with regards to what is known as the Divine Council. I'm going to be very quick on this. I'm going to show you the text, but this Deuteronomy 32 speaks to this issue of Divine Council. We have what's called the Divine Council. Go with me to the book of Job. Job chapter 1. Job chapter 1. Job chapter 1, and we pick up the reading in verse 6. This is divine counsel. This is where God, El Elyon, Most High, meets in the heavenly realm with the other Elohim. And they make decisions about what will go on this earth. This is the divine counsel. He says, now there was a day when the sons of God, the Bnei Elohim, came to present themselves before the Lord, and Satan, the adversary, Satan, also came among them. And the Lord said, from where did you come? So Satan answered the Lord and said, from going to and fro on the earth and from walking back and forth on it. Then the Lord said to Satan, have you considered my servant Job, that there is none like him on the earth, a blameless and upright man, one who fears God and shuns evil? So Satan answered the Lord and said, does Job fear God for nothing? Have you not made a hedge about him, around his household, and all around, all that he has on every side? You have blessed the work of his hand, and his possessions have increased in the land. But now stretch out your hand and touch all that he has, and he will surely curse you to your face. And the Lord said to Satan, behold, all that he has is in your power, only do not lay a hand on him. So Satan went out from the presence of the Lord. So this is a divine council meeting, where they are discussing a particular individual and what will happen to that individual. The Bnei Elohim, the sons of God, are meeting in the heavenly realm, and they are discussing that which is to happen here on this earth to a particular individual named Job. Go with me to 1 Kings chapter 22. 1 Kings chapter 22. It's the last chapter of this particular section. Kings was at one time all one book. So at the end of 1 Kings chapter 22, and it says, I want to pick it up in verse 19. 1 Kings 22:19. Another throne room scene. It says, then Micaiah said, therefore hear the word of the Lord. I saw the Lord sitting on his throne, and all the host of heaven standing by, on his right hand and on his left. And the Lord said, who will persuade Ahab to go up, that he may fall at Ramoth Gilead? So one spoke in this manner, and another spoke in that manner. Then the Spirit came forward and stood before the Lord and said, I will persuade him. The Lord said to him, in what way? So he said, I will go out and be a lying spirit in the mouth of all his prophets. And the Lord said, you shall persuade him, and also prevail. Go out and do so. Therefore, look, the Lord has put a lying spirit in the mouth of all these prophets of yours, and the Lord has declared disaster against you. Another heavenly meeting. The spirits are there, the Bnei Elohim, the sons of God are there, and there's decisions being made about what's to go on here. And he says, I want you to go down and be a lying spirit in the mouth of his prophets. In earlier Job, he says, I want you can go down there and you can mess with Job if you like. Okay? So we've just seen two divine throne room scenes. Go with me to Ezekiel chapter 1. Ezekiel chapter 1. It says this, and I'm going to truncate a little bit of this. I'm going to skip down to verse 15 just to cut to the chase. This is Ezekiel in a vision looking up into the heavenly throne room. Ezekiel chapter 1, verse 15, we're picking up. He says, "Now as I looked at the living creatures, behold, a wheel was on the earth beside each living creature with its four faces. The appearance of the wheels and their workings was like the color of beryl, and all four had the same likeness. The appearance of their workings was, as it were, a wheel in the middle of a wheel. When they moved, they went toward any one of the four directions. They did not turn aside when they went. As for their rims, they were so high, they were awesome, and their rims were full of eyes all around the four of them. When the living creatures went, the wheels went beside them, and when the living creatures were lifted up from the earth, the wheels were lifted up. Wherever the Spirit wanted to go, they went. There the Spirit went, and the wheels were lifted together with them. For the Spirit of the living creatures was in the wheels. When those went, these went. When those stood, these stood. And when those were lifted up from the earth, the wheels were lifted up together with them. For the Spirit of the living creatures was in the wheels." Now, I'm going to skip down to verse 26. "And above the firmament, over their heads, was the likeness of a throne, in appearance like a sapphire stone. On the likeness of the throne was a likeness of the appearance of a man high above it. Also, from the appearance of his waist and upward, I saw, as it were, the color of amber with the appearance of fire all around within it. And from the appearance of his waist and downward, I saw, as it were, the appearance of fire with brightness all around. Like the appearance of a rainbow in a cloud on a rainy day, so was the appearance of the brightness all around it. This was the appearance of the likeness of the glory of the Lord. When I saw it, I fell on my face, and I heard a voice of one speaking." He says, "I see the Lord on a throne, like a man, and he's got fire all around him." We have this throne room scene. We have this divine council where the Elohim, the B'nai Elohim, meet, and they decide what will happen here on this earth. The sons of God make decisions about what is happening here on this earth. This is, to put it in the terms of my friend Michael Heiser, the unseen realm. We don't get to see this realm unless the pages of the text pull back and show it to us. Now go with me to Daniel chapter 7. Daniel chapter 7. Ezekiel, most of you are familiar with this particular text. I must find it myself. It's late in this book. Look at Daniel chapter 7, and we pick up the reading in verse 13. Verse 9. Verse 9. "I watched till thrones were put in place, and the Ancient of Days was seated. His garment was as white as snow, and the hair of his head was like pure wool. His throne was a fiery flame. Its wheels a burning fire." Does that sound familiar? This is right, Ezekiel. So it's a throne, it's a chariot. It's a chariot throne. It's got wheels within wheels. "A fiery stream issued and came forth from before him. 1,000 thousands ministered to him. 10,000 times 10,000 stood before him. The court was seated," this is the council, "and the books were opened." Verse 13. "I was watching in the night vision, and behold, one like the Son of Man, coming with the clouds of heaven." He rides the clouds. "He came to the Ancient of Days. Then to him was given dominion and glory and a kingdom, that all peoples, nations, and languages should serve him. His dominion is an everlasting dominion, which shall not pass away, and his kingdom one which shall not be destroyed." "I see the Lord seated on a throne, high and lifted up, and the train of his robe fills the temple," right? This is Ezekiel. We have divine council, where the Elohim, those who can reside in the heavenly realm, sit in council, and they make decisions about what is to go on here. This seems strange to us, but this is what the biblical text is telling us. It's the unseen realm, where these gods, Elohim, small g, meet, and they have deliberation about what will happen here. The Apostle Paul will say, "For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against spiritual wickedness, against powers that are unseen." Okay? Now, this brings us then to our text today. Go with me to Deuteronomy chapter 32. Deuteronomy chapter 32. I did that quickly because I want to get to Deuteronomy chapter 32. In Deuteronomy chapter 32, verse 8. Verse 8. It says this. When the Most High, this is Elyon. And in other places he's called El Elyon. He's the Most High. When the Most High divided the inheritance to the nations, when he separated the sons of Adam or the sons of men, he set the boundaries of the peoples, and most of your translations are going to say, according to the number of the children of Israel, Bnei Israel. There is a text critical issue here, and the Dead Sea Scrolls and other manuscripts say the Bnei Elohim, the sons of God. I'm going to argue that that's the correct way of looking at this, not the sons of Israel. There was never a time that God said to Israel, or even a king of Israel, that I want you to rule over all the nations, that I will give you the dominion of all the nations. There is one king of Israel that will have dominion over the nations, the Messiah, the Messianic king. Psalm 2, we'll read that in a moment. But never was any Davidic king told, you are going to rule and be in charge of the nations. So what happens is this. In the divine council, God apportions parts of this earth geographically to Elohim, to those who will report back to him, like we see in Job 1, and will tell him what is going on in their sector of the universe. They will report back to him and say, in my area, this is what is happening. And they will influence what is happening in that area. They will deal with world leaders, and they will report back to Elyon, the Most High in the council, and say, this is what is going on. And then this council will discuss, and they may say something like, you know, I think you should be lying. There should be a lying spirit in the mouth of one of his prophets. I think somebody should go and mess with Job. And how about this one? Going trans-testamental, when Yeshua turns to Peter and he says this. Peter? No, that's one of them. Yeah, but he says this, Peter, Satan has desired to sift you, but I have prayed for you, and when you have been restored, come back to your brothers. Peter, I'm paraphrasing here, Peter, we just had a divine council meeting, and your name came up.
Oops.
Just like we did in Job. We discussed you, we discussed people. And when we discussed people, your name came up, Peter, and Satan has desired to sift you. He's desired to mess with you. And it's going to happen, but you're going to be okay. You're going to be okay. Yeshua is saying, I have sat in the divine council. I have sat in the divine council. And how do I know he has sat in the divine council? Because if we look at Matthew chapter 27, go with me to Matthew chapter 27. Matthew chapter 27. Actually 26. 26, Matthew 26. Verse 62. Matthew 26, verse 62. Look at this. He says, and the high priest arose and said to him, do you answer nothing? What is it these men testify against you? But Yeshua kept silent. And the high priest answered and said to him, I put you under oath by the living God. Tell us if you are the Messiah, the Son of God. And Yeshua said to him, it is as you said. Nevertheless, I say to you, hereafter you will see the Son of Man, Daniel 7:13, sitting at the right hand of the power, the Ancient of Days, and coming on the clouds of heaven. I'm the cloud rider. That's about as bold as you get. All the way through the Hebrew Scriptures, Yahweh is the cloud rider. Yahweh is the one who rides the clouds. He says, no, I'm going to ride the clouds. Because, well, I'm Yahweh. I'm seated on the throne next to the power. The high priest tears his garment and says, we've just heard blasphemy. Yeshua says, you don't know who you are dealing with. You don't know who you're dealing with. You haven't a clue who I am. He says, I'm the cloud rider. So my point is this, that Yeshua sat in the divine council. Now, this is why Deuteronomy 32:8 says he divided up the portions of geography and he gave it to these Elohim for them to report back to him what was going there. Now here's what happens. The Elohim rebel, or some of them do, they rebel against him. They rebel against him. And this is why world leaders will decide, having very little army, very little capabilities, very little money, megalomaniac leaders will arise on our planet and say, I want to genocide everybody in my land and everybody gets in my way. And they decide they want to just have nuclear capabilities so they can destroy everybody. Because whispering in their ear are Elohim saying, kill them all, kill them all, destroy, 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 bring destruction. They rebel. Now go back to Deuteronomy chapter 32 for a moment. Deuteronomy 32 and look at verse 16. Verse 16 says, they provoked him, speaking of Yahweh, to jealousy, or to anger, to jealousy, with foreign gods. With abominations they provoked him to anger. They sacrificed to demons. Hebrew word, actually Akkadian root, shadim. Only use one other place. Shadim.